let's dive into. Are we gonna call it episode 4 or mini-sode? I guess we'll find out. But welcome back, everybody, to the Chilluminati podcast mini bonus episode or episode 4.
Oh my gosh!
This one, my hands are off the research reins. This is fully in Alex's lap. He hasn't told us what he has prepared for us.
Can I tell you guys something before we jump into this about Alex?
Yes.
He has a video. I don't know if anyone knows this. He has a video series on YouTube.
He showed me.
Really weird about. I don't know, Alex. Supernatural, paranormal stuff. I have no idea what.
It's a paranormal video series that I do as a hobby,
and it is crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Only rarely. It's kind of like played for comedy as much as it is for making your brain hurt.
It's truly one of the most insane things I've ever seen a person ever do.
It has. What I'm saying is, it has jokes.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's paranormal stuff without any sort of judgment on it. I just present it exactly how it's told. Stories that are less known. It's called Mystery Search. You can check it out. It's
creepy. He
probably
made the
total
creepiest
2,000 views.
The creepiest series I've ever seen.
Give it a look.
Give it a check.
Give it a look, you guys.
That's awesome.
But this is kind of along those lines, actually, because this is a story that I've always thought was like so hilarious, and I'm not going to tell you whether or not this is something that I like believe in. I think it'll become pretty clear pretty soon whether I believe in it or not. But I have some ground rules because I'm just going to basically like go through this story with you guys, and you guys can feel free to stop me and like discuss at any point. But the ground rule is do not Google this.
Okay.
And do not. And
I
do
won't.
not,
I'm away from the computer now. I'm moving away.
Okay. My keyboard is pushed in. I'm not going to check anything.
Yeah, and do not guess what it is. If you think you know what it is, you can say, I think I know what's going to happen or whatever. Don't guess what it is till the end because it's good.
Yeah.
At least until the reveal.
Of course. Yeah.
So we're just going to go in. This is a website that I found. I'm not going to tell you anything about it other than that this is called Everyday Chemistry. Okay?
Oh, no.
Do not Google that phrase.
No. Okay.
For you, you still have no idea.
I have no
what this is
idea.
about.
I just know it's going to be
guaranteed
crazy.
you have no idea where I'm going to go with this. But
no.
Please, if you're listening, don't Google it till after, because once you Google it, you can go right to this and find it. And like, the reason I like this story, other than the fact that it's a crazy story, like just like a silly ass story, is that, you know, a lot of these paranormal happenings tend to not have any sort of good evidence.
Yeah.
And whether or not you believe in this evidence that this story presents to you after I read it or not, the evidence exists. So that's why I like this. You can go and check this out after I read it, and there is something for you to see that is the thing. Okay? So here we go. We're just going to jump right in. This is the part.
I'm nervous, man. I don't know what's about to happen.
This is the part on the website that's called The Story, and I'm just going to read it verbatim with some omissions. Okay. Just to protect the reveal till the end, because I think that's a funny part of this. Okay? Here we go. The following is an actual account of my experiences as of recently. Because of the nature of what has happened, I must remain anonymous until I feel it is safe to reveal my real name. But for now, you can refer to me as James Richards. Cool?
Yeah.
On September 9th, 2009, I experienced something that I am still having trouble believing happened to me. I came into the possession of a cassette tape containing a That's
a noise.
That's me censoring it. That's me censoring myself because I don't want you to know.
Okay, gotcha.
Is on the tape. In fact, not only was it never, but it was, and no, I'm not talking about
what?
You've lost me. You've lost me.
This is just me redacting things so that you don't know what's going on.
You're redacting parts of the story.
Just because it's just his intro and it spoils what the whole point of the story is, and I don't want to get there.
All right.
Now, this is where the story becomes slightly more unbelievable, and it is almost embarrassing to attempt to explain the incident to you for fear of viewing me as completely absurd. I must assure you, I am not insane or on drugs, and hopefully the audio from this tape will be enough proof that there is more than we think.
First of all, hold on. If you're going to give yourself a fake name, why James Richards?
Sounds like a
Like,
newscaster.
why not give yourself a badass, like, super spy name? Like Agent
Killer.
Zero. Or something badass.
I don't know why. I don't know why.
Richards?
Maybe that's his real name. Maybe that's like his
maybe his
hiding in
name's
plain
Richard
sight plan.
James.
He's a genius. Creative genius. Could
That's like that white supremacist teacher. Did you hear about that?
oh, God,
What?
no.
I don't want to go down this. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too far. But there's like this teacher in Florida who like has like a like secret white supremacist podcast, and she like brags about being a teacher in the podcast, and that she's like low key teaching her kids white supremacist ideals.
Oh, God.
And like they figured out who it was and what school she was at and stuff. And her name turns out to be like a what do you call it? Like
Anagram?
a anagram or whatever of her name. So silly. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
People are dumb. Anyway, you continue.
Back to the story. I live in Livermore, California, but on September 9th, I was driving home from Turlock after visiting a friend for a few days. I had my dog with me, and I didn't have any plans for the day, so I decided to take a drive through a place called Del Puerto Canyon, just west of Turlock. These are real places. I've been through this area.
Okay.
That's me saying that. There is a scenic road that is a fun drive and actually goes through to Livermore. I hadn't taken a cruise through it for a while, so I thought I would take this way home. It was about 2 p.m. A ways into the canyon, my dog started acting like she needed to use the restroom. So I pulled over to the first available parking area to the side of the road and let her out while I stretched. At first, I didn't notice, but then I heard the barking from 30 yards away. My dog was chasing a rabbit. Now, my dog is a pretty good dog, but if she is chasing something, then there is no stopping her, so the only thing I could do was become part of the chase. They already had about a 40-yard head start, so I really had to book it. The uneven ground and soft dirt patches made it difficult to run, and it wasn't very far into the chase I had stepped in a rabbit hole, fell, and knocked myself unconscious. So this guy basically saw his dog. I don't know how he knew that the dog was chasing a rabbit. Like, my dog just runs away for any reason.
Right. A taste of freedom.
Yeah.
But your dog is possibly an alien. Let's be clear about this.
That's true.
Alex's
That's
dog
true. He
is
might be
not,
from Endor.
does not look like a dog.
He might be from Endor's moon.
He's from the Hollow Moon.
Yeah, he's from his homeworld rings like a bell. But here's where the story takes a turn. When I woke up, I was in a room with some furniture and electronics in it. I was taken care of with a bandage on my head, but I still felt uneasy about the situation because where I fell and hit my head was in a very rural, unpopulated area with no houses, and outside the window of the room I was in, I could hear traffic. I wasn't near the window in the room. It was actually on the other side next to an unusual-looking electronic machine that I didn't recognize from anywhere I've seen before. The only reason this stood out was because it seemed out of place in a person's home, which most of the room resembled. I decided to get up and look out the window, but the door opened and in ran my dog, who was pretty excited to see me. When I looked up, there was a man standing at the door. He was about 6 feet tall, had medium long black hair, and was dressed casually nice, but gave me a greasy vibe, if you know what I mean.
I do. I know what that guy...
I'm thinking Howard Stern is what I'm like imagining.
Yeah, I can see that with the longer black hair and kind of a creepy vibe on him. Yeah, all right, I got you.
Really self-deprecating, little like microfiber, like flimsy t-shirt from the 80s.
Yeah.
We got it. He introduced himself as Jonas and asked me if I was okay, which I said yes. He said he found me unconscious in a field with my dog barking at me. So I thanked him for helping me and my dog out, and that I was surprised my dog even came back to me. I then asked him the question that would make me start wondering if I, in fact, had gone crazy. I asked him, "Where am I?" "About 20 feet away from where I found you," he replied. I told him that couldn't be possible because there was no houses within at least 20 miles from where I last remember being. He then told me that what he was going to say next will be very shocking and unbelievable, and that if he didn't actually experience it himself, then he wouldn't believe it. He took a look at the machine near the window and looked back at me and said he transported me into parallel Earth.
What?
He said he traveled. He
What?
said he traveled to our Earth dimension and found me knocked out in the blazing heat with nobody around to help me out. Normally, he said he doesn't take outsiders through a portal, but in my case, he thought I needed urgent help. I immediately started asking questions about traveling to parallel worlds, since all I knew about the topic was YouTube videos of Michio Kaku.
Yo, we need to do an episode of Michio Kaku. I love that dude. Love that dude.
Let's get him on the show.
I'd
Maybe he'll
love to
come
talk
talk
with him.
with us about Skinwalker Ranch.
No way. I want to talk to him about like the different stages
Space.
of intergalactic beings and oh man, I love that dude.
And being able to go through parallel universe portals.
Maybe he knows.
It's like a comic
true.
book. We're from Earth 4312, and he's now on Earth 4313.
Yeah.
Exactly. He told me to slow down and that he would explain himself. Apparently, in his world, a parallel travel machine can be purchased quite easily. Oh shit, I lost my place. Oh, while not cheap, it's pretty popular even though the machine can be dangerous enough to cause death. In the 1950s of his dimension, the government was faced with a decision to continue to fund a space program, I'm guessing NASA, or a parallel dimension program called ARPD. I can't remember what he said it stood for. I'm pretty sure yeah.
It's like
Isn't that the name of the movie with Jeff Bridges?
well, ARPD just reminds me almost of like DARPA from like Lost.
It does. Yeah, it does sound
Yeah.
like DARPA, but not like Dharma, but like DARP. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not Dharma. Yeah, you're right.
DARPA is from Metal Gear.
That's what. Yeah, that's where I'm
DARPA
getting
chief.
from.
Yeah. Isn't DARPA stands for something like
Yeah, it must.
defense?
Yeah, I think it's a real thing.
Yeah,
isn't it?
defense something research something. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember what he said it stood for. I'm pretty sure the PD is parallel dimensions. And I remember the acronym because I noticed it a lot on the electronics in the room I was in. He then explained that the real danger of using one of the machines was exploring new dimensions. Since there are an infinite amount of Earths in other dimensions, only a small amount have been explored. The problem with exploring unknown dimensions is the chance you will die somehow once you walk through the portal doorway. He told me that people die from falling if the ground isn't close enough to where the portal opens, die from drowning, there are worlds covered in water, hard to reopen a portal underwater, die from fire, atmospheric issues. He said in order for people to avoid this, they would have to know that there would be similar ground in the dimension they were traveling to. So his government began to research worlds that were safe to transport to, even creating public spots where people could choose a menu of worlds to go to that were all safe. What if I told you guys that we are not even at like the crux of what the story is about?
Here's the thing. Even though I think this is insane, I love that he's taking the time to be like, hey, here are some of the real issues that would happen if you were traveling. Because I was thinking about that. Like, there are many possibilities of what would happen if you walk through a portal. And I like that he took the time to do this. So
He's like, the government took care of that. Don't worry. We know what happens.
I like this.
Oh, God.
We're about to get to the point.
The point of no return.
Many of these worlds were lush vegetation worlds that were never ruined by man, only to be invaded by the large overcrowded population of the traveler's world. He said something about new industries that opened up because of this, one of them being something like dimensional life brokers. These people offered the chance to live as someone new in an already established similar world that doesn't know of dimensional travel, nor that there are people crossing the dimensional border to. Like, worlds that don't know that there's people coming to them, basically.
I can imagine that having this technology would open up a black market of, like, get out of your world if you're a wanted man for a large sum of money.
Oh, yeah. I think sci-fi wise, this is fascinating, and the idea
you could do so much with this
like,
as an idea.
Yeah, like you could create a new life, and you could here's a question I have, and I don't know if this is answered, but I'm interested. Is this one of those? There's another version of you.
Not of you. But I'll get there. So
okay,
this is like, to me.
I just like the idea that you can take over your own life in a different dimension if it's better than the one you have.
Like Rick and Morty.
I imagine if shit's like infinite, there's infinite number of dimensions, then there has to be some with versions of you.
Sure.
That are just, maybe you're more successful or maybe you're worse off. And, there's different versions of you if there are infinite numbers of places you can go.
Yeah. The point being, I guess, that like the idea of a world that's similar to Earth that we know, but it's just a little different. It's like a commodity.
Yes.
You know what I mean? For this organization.
Yeah.
Right?
You could do
on.
so much with it. All right, continue, please.
Exactly. Jonas said he was an explorer for one of the dimensional travel agencies and was looking in new uncharted dimensions and came upon my Earth, which is our Earth. We talked about a lot of things. It was interesting to see what similarities and differences we had between worlds. Foods, culture, TV, technology, we covered a lot. We also started talking about music, which was an interesting topic because there were many of the same bands between our worlds that existed, including the Beatles.
Oh shit! Does
God.
he have an audio tape of a Beatles song from the alternate dimension? Oh, he does, doesn't he, Alex?
When their name got brought up, Jonas mentioned that his brother just got back from seeing them perform at a concert recently.
Wait, is this the Beatles are still around?
Which I gave a weird look to and said, "You mean they're still together?"
I love this. This is great.
I want to go to this dimension.
And he said, "Yeah." I then told him about how they broke up in our world and that John and George passed away. Apparently in his world, they are all alive, healthy, and on tour still.
Oh my gosh.
Jonas then had me follow him into another room that had a bookshelf-looking thing with some cassette tapes. Yes, the music ones. Apparently CDs never caught on in his world. And a tape player / radio / record player, though it didn't quite look like the type of radios we have. The speakers looked more like crinkled cardboard, but sounded pretty good.
Oh my god.
It's like an audio file kind of. I didn't get too good of a look at the speakers, but they certainly weren't round. They almost looked like a tall accordion.
Okay.
The only Beatles album he had that was store-bought and had a real cover art was Sgt. Pepper's, which the cover looks slightly different than the one we have, but the songs were all the same.
This is in 2009, right?
That's when this
event happened,
yeah.
right? And he
Yes, I don't know when the website came up.
This is what I like. I'm not trying to blow a hole in his whole theory because he apparently has a tape with the music on it. But
sure.
Well, we don't know that. We don't know all right, we don't know anything yet, Mathis. Maybe that's not where this is going. Maybe the tape has nothing to do with the Beatles. Maybe this is totally crazy.
But like my question is, it's 2009. Take a picture with your phone.
I know, right? I know. I was thinking about that. The other 6 Beatles tapes he had were all like somebody recorded them onto a blank cassette for him and wrote the song titles on a card slipped in the case. A couple of the album titles written on the tapes I recognize. There were about 4 that I had never heard of before. He played a few songs from one of them, which was totally surreal to hear Beatles music that was never made, at least in our world. We talked about it a little bit. He said a girl made the tapes for him while he was in upper school, which is what they call high school. I don't know why. I don't know why that's so funny to me, but the idea that that's like the level of change. The thing like the speakers and this is like so funny. She was a huge fan of them and wanted him to listen to them. He popped out the first tape and was putting in the second one when I told him he should record me a copy of one so I could take it back with me, thinking it wouldn't be a big deal. Well, the look Jonas gave me when I said this is part of the reason I'm remaining anonymous.
Oh.
Not only did it sort of scare me, but it had a very serious, almost creepy look to it, followed by the phrase, not word for word, I can't remember what exactly he said, "No, you are not to take anything back with you to your world. No pictures, no souvenirs, no tapes, nothing." I asked him why, and he wouldn't really say except that for my safety, I wasn't to take anything back. Of course, I am not the type of person to go through all this parallel world stuff and not grab something to prove the outrageous story of my experience.
Okay.
So for the moment, I told him I wouldn't take anything and change the subject.
Time out. I'm
what?
sorry. Time out.
Yeah, sure.
Dude, not you. This dude who's kidnapped or to nurse back to
James
health,
Richards?
back from this interdimensional transporter. He's
James Richards.
Yeah, right. James Richards, of course. He refuses to give his name because he's afraid the other guy's going to find out. And maybe he'll get in trouble or something. However, he's okay giving a beat-for-beat detailed description as to what happened to him. So if this guy ever comes across the story, he's going to be like, oh, the guy that got knocked out with his dog barking next to him, and then I took him in and showed him all this stuff. Yeah, well, it wasn't James Richards, so it mustn't be this guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I just glaring problem.
Maybe he never told him his name.
Oh, God. Okay, continue.
Maybe he told him his name was James Richards.
I'm still holding out hope that this, in the end, Alex has nothing to do with the Beatles, and the tape you found something totally different, and this is crazy. This is my hope.
I don't know about that.
All right, never mind.
About an hour later, after some more talking, I heard a doorbell ring, and he left the room to check the door. I knew that I may not have another chance to take something, so I grabbed one of the tapes and put it in my pocket and then shuffled the tapes around to make it look less obvious that something was missing. When he came back inside, I said I was kind of hungry just to get us out of the room. I mixed the tapes up a little so it was hard to tell one was missing, but I didn't want to be there when he found out. So then he took me in the other room and fed me. For the most part, the food tasted like ours, but was different product names and colors. The purple ketchup was the strangest. But the thing about that detail is that, like, you could go to the store probably today and buy purple
You
ketchup.
could have bought it in 2000 and bought
Yeah, I
purple
don't think
ketchup.
you could have. I don't think you can buy it today because it didn't really catch on. But you could have bought it in 2009, which is why I think he mentioned that little like, isn't it weird?
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked a little bit more, and then I expressed the notion that I should be going because it was getting late. The time of day was identical to ours, as is all worlds. Okay. We went back in the room with the machines in it. I grabbed my dog and shook Jonas's hand for taking care of me after I was knocked out. I thanked him again and stepped through the portal, which felt like getting wet but staying dry the entire time. Really weird. When I put my dog on the ground, she even shook herself like she thought she was wet. Back in our world, I could see my car on the road, and there was still a straight line burn mark on the ground from where the portal had shown up. It was dark outside, and the only reason I noticed the burn was because it was still smoking from the heat.
Oh, like fucking Back to the Future style, my dude. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. I walked back to my car, didn't run this time, and drove home. The worst part was I couldn't even listen to the tape on the way home because I didn't have a tape player in my car. I wasn't even able to listen to it at home either for the same reason and had to go to Walmart to buy a tape player just to listen to it. Unfortunately, I don't have any information about the tape other than what is written on the card sleeve. The track names were written, as well as the album title, Everyday Chemistry. Everything else about it is as mysterious to you as it is to me. It also wasn't like I could have asked the guy anything about it, especially after taking it from him. I'll post some more about my experience in the coming days. He did not. But I have to go to work right now, and this post is already long enough. If anyone has any questions they want to ask me about this incident, then I've set up an email address that you can contact me at, which is thebeatlesneverbroakeup@yahoo.com.
A Yahoo email address. Yes. Yes.
I'll try and answer everyone's questions as best as possible. Lastly, if there is anyone out there that has experienced anything like this, then please contact me. Some of the things this guy said to me almost make me wonder if this isn't the first time dimensional travelers have been
Whoa,
here.
but does he have the music online? Can we hear the music?
The Beatles never broke up.com, baby.
I'll go there,
All
and
there.
I will. If there's music there, I will insert a piece of the track into this podcast for people
You
to hear.
could probably play an entire song because, let me tell you, this music does not exist in our dimension.
I've had enough of what you seem with schizophrenic, egocentric, paranoid prima donnas. I've had enough of reading things by neurotic, psychotic, big-headed politics. All by myself.
The Beatles.
Oh my
I'm going
God.
there now. The Beatles,
Everyday
never
Chemistry.
broke up.
I can hear you guys like...
Oh my God! Four
And there's
guys.
a picture of it.
Tell me, the Beatles would make a song called Four Guys?
Not 5 guys. 4 guys.
No, 4. There's
Oh
only
my
4.
God, Mr. Gators! I'm clicking Mr. Gators Swamp Jamboree.
Let's see. I'll click. I'll pick one and I'll put it into the podcast for people to hear at least a piece of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
My goodness. But so the guy left the room. He had enough time to pocket something, but he didn't have enough time to take a quick picture on his cell phone.
Yeah, I mean, there are some pictures, but maybe he didn't have, like 2009, he might still have a first-gen iPhone. He might still have a flip phone.
Dude,
He might have a
but
Razor.
even flip phones had cameras back then. Oh, here's some. Okay, so he's got some pictures of the area.
Yeah.
That's just a. I can't click on the pictures, so that's great.
Yeah.
I can't zoom in on them either. So that's like a rabbit hole. Is that what that picture is like?
That's how he broke his foot or
Okay,
whatever,
that's
and
how he
down
fell,
knocked
and this is the
himself out.
tapes. Hey, the tape is from General Electric. Nice.
Yeah. Pretty good.
That's
The thing
that's incredible.
I love this because the album, like, you listen to it, on your own time, I guess, if you're listening to this show right now. But
Can I tell you something? I just listened to the song Anybody Else. It's track number 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's actually a good song.
It sounds like the Beatles are in the songs too,
Yeah,
right?
I feel like this could possibly be a like ARG thing for this dude's band, maybe. But like
I don't know because I don't know.
like,
Did he ever come back?
The music's not bad.
Yeah, like if I ever debunked this, I would guess that it's probably like I could probably find the clips, a lot of the clips like from the Beatles that you hear, because it really does sound like them singing sometimes. And like, you know, some people might say like, oh, they're just being postmodern because like they're referencing their own work or something. But like the reason I came upon this story in the first place, right, was because I was looking up, I'm doing like larger research on a type of like thing that has to do with like parallel universes.
Yeah.
I'm not tackling the whole topic, but there's sort of like a special type of parallel universe event that happens frequently throughout the mythology of paranormal stuff that I'm researching, and this was just kind of like
what is the event? What is the drop us that bomb? What is the one thing that changes reality?
The thing that I'm looking into is dimensional travelers that are like accidental, like unexplained accounts of people from places that are either not real or have different details.
Okay, yeah, I've actually done something not recently, but you're talking about people like the guy who comes from quote unquote a different dimension. Maybe technically he's from the future, that he comes back in time and he invests $800 in stocks and makes millions. And when they look into his history, there is no history of who this guy is and where he's from. And
it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yes, that guy, or like somebody from a country.
What
that
about
does
there
stuff with a
What the hell is that John
detained at the airport?
That John Titor guy? Do you know him?
John Teeter, the time traveler.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's like another similar type of this guy. Yeah,
The guy who came back in time
like,
and said he needed an IBM 5100 computer in order to save the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like John Teeter like deserves his own episode for sure.
100%.
But like
that's fascinating.
These other ones, like I went deep. I found like the first mention of these stories. I like went to the author. I talked to him. I tried to like figure out the answer to it at least. Like I tried to like figure out where it came from. And so this was I just like this one because it's not quite that. It's kind of like the backwards of that. Mm-hmm. If you know what I mean. It's like a personal account of somebody doing that from our world.
Right. But there's a lot of that kind
Yeah.
of thing. Like I was saying, that I think it's another, technically actually a time traveler. The guy who comes back, he's like in his 20s and he comes back in time and he invests $800 of his own money and he makes millions, to the point where he gets arrested and like for insider trading and stuff. And they try to do background checks on where he's from, and there is literally no record of him existing until like he's 20 something years old and he first invests the stocks. Like that's the only records of who he is as a person.
Exactly.
Exactly. And like they can't find anything, no birth certificate, nothing. And
it's literally like Biff Tannen.
Yeah, and when they went out to, like, when they were interviewing him at one particular point in time, and they left him in the room, and they came back, and he was gone, he's never been seen again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's the type of shit that fascinates me, and I love the nature of these stories of, like, tracking down where they came from and, like, getting the full story and, like, then deciding whether or not it seems true.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them seem to come from news reports and stuff like that. And so that's the thing that's really interesting to me. And I think that if I ever like drive a full episode, it's probably going to be about that pretty soon.
That's totally.
I'm just being very thorough. I bought like a book from the 80s that I'm like really enjoying. I ended up like reading it, but it really just has like the first mention of some of these accounts in it. So it's pretty fun stuff. But I like this one because you guys can go and like read it and like look at it yourselves and like hear this music, and it really fucking sounds like John, Paul, George, and Ringo, doesn't it?
I mean, I feel like one thing about this album, having listened to clips of all the different songs, it doesn't have the necessary like consistent. Like each Beatles album had like
not
a
cohesive.
Yeah, had like a cohesion, and this just seems like it's all over the place. Like every song is a little bit.
Yeah,
different.
but if you think about like PBS, right, and you go see like the Animals play a show on PBS in like 2005 or something, and they're all just like 60-year-old dudes in Hawaiian shirts by that point, and they're like just kind of playing whatever, and like
but they're playing
having a good
from,
time
from many albums, and this is the
Yeah, but
Beatles'
that's
Everyday Chemistry. Unless this is a mixtape that some dude made, and he called it Everyday Chemistry. If the album is called Everyday Chemistry, then there's no cohesiveness to like from like listening to the song Sick to Death and then go listen to Mr. Gator Swamp Jamboree. It's like two different album concepts. It's crazy.
Right.
Well, right, but like 30 years on into a band's career, like look at the Rolling Stones, right? Like they come out with albums still all the time of like new music, and whether or not they sound cohesive, like they definitely don't make waves the way that their original albums did that like got them famous. So maybe it's just this thing. Maybe it's just a thing like that, or maybe Everyday Chemistry is like a B-sides collection. Like we don't know because he skillfully crafted into his story a justification for not knowing any info.
Yeah,
which is that it's basically like a bootleg of the album that he stole. But like, yeah, it's just fun because I think you guys out there can go listen to this album yourself and decide what you think, or even like dive into the samples and see if you can find these recordings of these guys because I really do think it's their voices. Regardless of whether or not it's real, it really does. I'm a big fan of the Beatles. I'm a big audiophile. I've listened to like the Beatles studio recordings. I've listened to like
awesome.
isolated
They're
tracks.
Incredible.
Yeah, I love listening to all those isolated recordings of them singing and stuff. I really know their voices well, and this really does sound a lot like them. So we'll probably go throw to maybe at least one of the tracks off the album after this.
Can I be honest? I'm disappointed. I truly hoped that when he got back, it was going to be something else on the tape. Something even more bizarre on the tape.
Right.
Yeah. Probed by an alien when he got back.
because like he brought it back through, and because it doesn't exist in our reality, it couldn't exist. And so like, I wish there was I was ready for an even more bizarre thing to be on that tape.
You got suckered in by J.J. Abrams' mystery box.
Yeah, I was waiting for something even crazier.
Yeah.
What do you think,
but, I mean,
Alex? Do you believe this?
I believe that John, Paul, George, and Ringo are on those recordings. That is the extent of what I'm willing to say that I
Are you saying
believe.
maybe it could be very similar to like a bunch of musicians? It's just tracks that they never released, and he somehow got his hands on them?
I have no idea where he got the recordings from. I have no idea the nature of this stuff in like the sense of like, oh, I recognize this sample of George from this recording.
Right.
I don't know any of that. I believe it to be their voices in the recordings. Whatever the songs are, I don't know. Wherever he got the tape, I have no idea. But the reason this story haunts me a little bit to this day from when I first heard about it when I was in college a long, long, long time ago, like the thing that always stays with me is how much I'm like positive that it's their voices on the tape.
Did this guy ever come back ever?
This is it. This is the site.
That's it. And
I saw this site years ago and it looked exactly like this.
Did you ever email him?
But I never did. I never had the nuts to email him.
I will say this. It's really interesting, and there's like a little evidence as far as like maybe, but there's a lot of points in the story itself that I'm just like, well, if he doesn't want to be found
Convenient.
out, why is he putting a beat for beat story like what happened? The guy's gonna find him if that's what.
Well, I mean, the guy already knows that he stole the stuff,
right?
And that like he fell through the portal and stuff. So I mean, like as long as the guy doesn't know who the fuck he is, he's good, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. I have a fascination with parallel universes and stuff like that too, and time travel and stuff. So, is it impossible? I don't know if I want to go that far, but it is highly unlikely that it was a parallel dimension. There's a lot of easier explanations of just being like it's tracks that were never released that he got his hands on and all this other stuff. But the fact that he also never came back after just posting the story is also interesting.
It seems like he put some effort into like designing this website. Like,
yeah.
It's not a dope website. It's not like amazing.
No, but
even
it's
for
not
2009.
like black screen, green text, which is nice.
Yeah, he did some work. He like kind of tried to get the Beatles vibe, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I don't know. I like this. I like this because you get the story, you see some little visuals, and then you get to actually listen to it. So decide for yourselves. Of course, this is just mostly just a fun story I wanted to share. But I think this is a good sort of like primer for an episode about these types of people, and I think that hearing this type of story from the other side first is kind of interesting.
I agree. It's neat. It's a really interesting story, and if anything, it gives me it for Jesse too. I think it like hit creative juices pretty fast, and be like, there's some cool possibilities for telling a neat story.
It's really a fresh like subject matter for a paranormal story.
And you know why this is good? Why this is a good story? Because then he gives you something, like he throws you a bone at the end of it. Like, hey, by the way, I know what I said is crazy, but listen to this album. And when you listen to it, it isn't bullshit. It's like
It's not immediately like this sucks.
it's 11 tracks that are like, this is actually pretty good. And,
Yeah.
and then he's like, here, have them. Do your research on them. And that makes for a good story. And while I don't believe that it's an alternate reality Beatles thing, I think it's a great sort of ARG experience of like, oh my God, what if?
Trying to become viral
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but who knows, guys?
I'm into it, dude. That was a fucking cool ass story.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
I liked it a lot. Well, that'll be a
Yeah.
mini-sode for us then.
That's how they feel, guys. Get ready.
Yeah,
If you guys
this
like
is
minisodes.
this is but a taste of what is to come when we get deeper and Alex decides to give us a full-blown like parallel dimension episode. So,
Yeah,
I'm in.
And if you guys like this type of minisode, please let us know because I have a million fucking weird
Hell
ass
yeah,
stories like this that I can pull out. And that's kind of what my other show was about too. So if you guys want to see that, check it out.
Yeah, where can we-
Search is what it's called. I forget the fucking URL for it on YouTube.
Mystery search. We'll find
All the thumbnails are like stars with like a number and like
Okay.
a word. So you can find it if you want to find it or not. I'm not trying to like promote it. By
No,
any
go
means.
fucking
It's
watch
just
it.
a
That's
thing
cool. Like I love that kind of
Yeah.
shit. So that's
It's
dope.
just a thing I do for fun. So I'm gonna make it whether or not anybody watches it. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's it.
Awesome.
Check out this album.
Yeah, I'll like I said, I'll make sure that at the end or at some point I'll insert like a little sample of one of the songs so people can hear it, and you guys can have it go listen for yourself. I mean, it's the BeatlesNeverBrokeUp.com. Go check it out. Well, thanks, Alex. That was super fun. I love that kind of
Yeah.
shit, dude. Like that's awesome. I would have. My first question to this guy, if I ever ran across somebody who claimed to be a parallel dimension traveler, I'd just be like, so are aliens real in your universe? I just would want.
Oh
to know.
man. Yeah. Do they have UFO sightings in your universe?
Right, are aliens real? And of course the answer would always be yes from these people, because they would be
Yeah.
like, yeah, and it's public knowledge, and there's we just passed the law that we can marry aliens, so sweet. All right, well, that'll
Let
be
us know if you guys email this fucking guy.
oh
and
go
he gets back to
yeah,
you.
email him and post it on the subreddit. I want to see like if he replies.
Don't harass him though.
No. Like, legitimately, if you're curious, throw him an email and see if he gets back. I mean, this is back from the early, like, many years ago when Alex said he was in high school, for Christ's sake, or college, rather.
Like very early college years. Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet, man. Well, thank you so much for that mini-sode. We will, this will be, I don't know yet if it's going to be the week after the episode 4 or if it'll be where episode 5 should be, depending on recording schedules, but it'll be up one way or another. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying it, make sure you drop us a review, iTunes, all that good stuff.
5 stars.
Yeah, 5-star us, write us a review. For iTunes specifically, it's super important. Otherwise, Apple doesn't really care if we exist or not. So, let them know that you're loving what we're doing. We also have a subreddit. You can go talk about things, and if you email him and you get a response, I'd love to see that email. That would be awesome.
I know I barely ever post on Reddit at all, period, but I definitely lurk in that subreddit a lot, so it's been fun reading all your guys' stuff.
Yeah, it's been super active, which has been great.
Yeah, it's actually like really kind of like a nice little village now.
Yeah, I like it a lot, and it's only going to grow from here. Also, you can follow all of us on Twitter, as always. You can follow Jesse at Jesse Cox. You can follow Alex at Afaciane, and you can follow me at Mathis Games, and of course the podcast itself at Chilluminati Pod. You can reach out to us and let us know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for the support on this series. It's been super fun for us, and we'll see you next time with something very special and weird, I'm sure. See you next time.
Yep. Peach.
Bye.
Peace.